My wife sabotaged the royal time system, Duke Rowan announced. Silence fell across the palace clock chamber. Lydia stood opposite her husband, while Sir Gideon placed a copied winding key, a damaged escape wheel, and stolen maintenance plans upon the table. All three had been found inside her private workshop. Rowan removed her name from the Royal Time Register. You were denied the contract. Now the clocks have begun losing time. Lydia looked at the man who once trusted her to repair the watch closest to his heart. You have mistaken my warning for a motive. The evidence is in your workshop. No. It was placed where your pride would accept it. She pointed towards the clock behind him. That machine has no pendulum. The clock began to strike. 12. Then 13. A second clock answered from the corridor. Then another. Within moments, every clock inside Wrenford Palace struck 13 together. Lydia faced her husband. Your clocks are not broken, Rowan. They are obeying someone. 9 years earlier, Rowan Cavendish had met Lydia beside a disabled harbour clock. He had travelled to the northern docks to inspect a fleet of merchant vessels. The official marine chronometer in his possession stopped shortly before the tide changed. A respected instrument maker examined it and declared the balance assembly ruined. Lydia, whose family produced navigational instruments, asked permission to look. The craftsman laughed. She removed the rear plate anyway. A fragment of brass, no larger than a grain of rice, had lodged between the balance spring and its bridge. Lydia lifted it free with a needle. The watch began ticking. Rowan stared at it. The mechanism was not ruined? The gentleman decided it was complicated before examining the simple obstruction. Theodore, no. Rowan smiled. And what do you decide about people before examining them? That depends upon whether they interrupt me while I am holding a spring. Their courtship began with curiosity rather than ceremony. After they married, Rowan often sat beside Lydia in the Wrenford workshop. She designed a tidal clock for the coastal villages and repaired the watch his father had given him before his first parliamentary speech. He once introduced her to an admiral by saying, "My wife hears an error before most men notice the time has changed." Lydia remembered those words whenever Rowan later asked her not to speak during council meetings. His appointment as chairman of the Royal Time Council changed the manner in which others treated him. It also changed the manner in which he allowed them to treat her. Sir Gideon Cross, the most celebrated clockmaker in Britain, was awarded the contract to install a single coordinated time system throughout government buildings, auction rooms, and royal residences. He described Lydia's objections as charming domestic enthusiasm. Her Grace understands private mechanisms, he told Rowan. National timekeeping requires engineering beyond a household workshop, Lydia replied. A large system merely multiplies the consequences of a small defect. Rowan asked her not to argue with Gideon before the council. This contract has already been approved. Then why hold an inspection? To confirm the work. Confirmation is not inspection when doubt has been forbidden. Gideon smiled, as though her answer proved she was difficult. After that, Lydia's name disappeared from technical meetings. She was invited to ceremonies but not examinations. Her designs were called experiments. Her questions were described as opposition to her husband. The first serious irregularity appeared in the Royal Auction Hall. A shipping company submitted its bid 3 minutes before the official deadline. The clerk rejected it as 7 minutes late. The company appealed. The clock in the auction room showed noon. The clock outside in the public square showed 11:53. Sir Gideon called it an isolated calibration error. A company connected to Lord Marcus Fenwick won the contract. The same thing happened 2 weeks later, then again at a railway tender. Each time, the indoor clock ran fast. Each time, one of Marcus's companies submitted the final accepted bid. Lydia gathered the reports and placed them before Rowan. 3 clocks, 3 early closures, and 3 contracts awarded to the same circle of investors. Gideon has already corrected the calibration. Why did the clocks change after they were locked? Temperature affects metal, not by 7 minutes in a single morning. Rowan closed the file. The royal time system is being examined by the man who built it. He is the nation's foremost clockmaker. He is also the person most threatened by finding a fault. Rowan's expression hardened. You opposed his appointment from the beginning. I opposed a system no independent engineer was permitted to inspect. You wanted your family workshop considered for the contract. My family did not bid. Others will not know that. Lydia looked at him. So appearance is now evidence? No. But motive matters. It matters when proof exists. You use it when you wish proof to become unnecessary. He ended the conversation. Lydia continued the examination without him. Silas Reed, the palace clock keeper, allowed her into the eastern gallery before dawn. Rows of clocks lined the walls, all supposedly independent machines adjusted daily to the same official signal. Lydia opened the case of the largest one. The visible pendulum swung behind glass, but it was not connected to the movement. It is decorative, she said. Silas nodded nervously. The clock continues even when the pendulum is stopped. Lydia removed the side panel. A thin steel rod passed through the rear wall. The mechanism was not regulating itself. It was receiving force from somewhere beyond the room. She placed 2 fingers against the plaster. A faint vibration ran through it. Does this happen often? Before the clocks change together. Who enters the maintenance passages? Sir Gideon's men. Are their visits recorded? Silas gave her a page from the maintenance book. Several entries had been crossed out and rewritten. Every altered night preceded an auction dispute. Lydia examined a spare wheel removed from another clock. 12 ordinary teeth surrounded its edge. The 13th was longer. When it reached a concealed lever, an external pull could interrupt or accelerate the movement. A single mechanism might gain minutes without appearing damaged. A network of them could change the official time of an entire building. Lydia took the wheel to Rowan. He was preparing for the signing of a commercial treaty between 3 delegations. The agreement depended upon all parties entering the chamber and presenting documents at precisely the appointed hour. This tooth allows outside control, she told him. Rowan examined it briefly. Gideon says it is part of the striking mechanism. It appears in clocks that do not strike. He believes it came from an experimental machine. It carries Cross's tool marks. You entered restricted maintenance rooms without authority. The clocks are deciding who receives national contracts, and you are behaving as though the whole government is operated by hidden wires. Lydia held the wheel between them. This palace may be. His face closed. You will not interfere with the treaty ceremony. Then allow an independent inspection before it begins. No. Because you trust Gideon? Because I will not create an international scandal based upon your theory. Lydia looked down at the wheel. A scandal already exists. You are merely negotiating with its concealment. The search of her workshop occurred the following morning. Lady Imogen had authorized the locks to be changed, while Lydia attended a charity committee. Gideon's technicians entered with palace guards. When she returned, her private tools covered the central table. A copied winding key had been found behind her instrument cabinet. A damaged escape wheel lay inside a drawer of clean components. Plans of the concealed palace passages appeared beneath her design books. There was also a payment order from a company that had lost one of the disputed auctions. The final document was a threat written in Lydia's name. "Restore my place upon the council, or the clocks will fail during the treaty." Rowan summoned the Royal Time Council immediately. Gideon presented every object. "My concern is not that Her Grace lacks talent," he said. "It is that talent without restraint becomes dangerous." Lydia examined the damaged wheel. The teeth had been filed using a coarse, triangular tool. Her workshop used flat finishing files marked with her initials. The oil bottle carrying her name smelled of pine resin. She used whale oil in large movements and almond oil in fine instruments. The plans contained measurement symbols she had abandoned 6 years earlier. "Each object is wrong," she said. Rowan looked at her. "Yet each was found in your locked room after your sister gave Gideon's men access." Imogen flushed. "They required room to examine the wall connections. They required a room in which to arrange a story." Gideon's expression remained calm. "Her Grace is accusing everyone except herself." "No. I am accusing the person whose system you placed in charge of investigating its own failure." Rowan removed her name from the register. She would lose access to the palace clocks, the maintenance rooms, and the treaty chamber. Her workshop keys were confiscated. Lydia did not ask him to reconsider. She pointed instead towards the main chamber clock. "That clock has no working pendulum." Gideon laughed. "The Duchess is attempting to distract us." Lydia stepped beneath the case. The false pendulum continued swinging. Behind the wall, the hidden wire tightened. The clock struck 13. Then every clock in Wrenford Palace answered. The council chamber filled with overlapping bells, 13 from the corridor, 13 from the eastern gallery, 13 from the treaty hall. Gideon's face lost its careful composure for less than a second. Lydia saw it. So did Rowan. But when the final bell stopped, Gideon said, "A sabotage signal." Exactly as the evidence predicted. Rowan looked from him to Lydia. "You knew this would happen." "I knew a connected system could be commanded." "You may have commanded it." The accusation landed more deeply than the public restriction. Lydia met his eyes. "You require proof beyond reason to believe me, and only a convenient object to condemn me." She left the chamber. She did not leave Wrenford Palace. Agnes Bell reached Lydia's eastern sitting room after midnight. The young gear cutter entered through the servants' corridor, carrying a wrapped brass wheel. "I made these for Crossworks," she whispered. Lydia uncovered it. The 13th tooth was longer than the rest. A small letter A had been scratched beneath the lower plate. "My mark," Agnes said. Sir Gideon ordered it removed from every finished wheel. "How many did you make?" "More than 80. Where were they sent?" "Palaces, auction rooms, banks, and government offices." Agnes produced a partial plan. Steel control lines ran through the walls towards the old bell tower. Lydia spread the palace drawings beside it. Every concealed rod converged upon the tower. There would be a central operating room behind it. Someone could alter the clocks in several chambers at once. "Why 13 strikes?" Lydia asked. "A test signal. The operators pull the master lever, and every machine confirms that it received the command." Lydia remembered Gideon's expression. The 13th bell had not been intended for the council. It had been a system test performed by someone who did not realize she was watching. She took the evidence to Rowan. He listened without interrupting, but suspicion remained. Agnes works for Gideon. She may also work for you. Lydia felt something inside her become still. Then we perform a test neither of us can control afterwards. She prepared 3 sealed instructions for a supposed overnight correction. Gideon was told the system would be reset at 8:20. Marcus Fenwick received 8:35. Imogen received 8:50. Only Rowan, Lydia, and each recipient knew the individual time. Guards surrounded Lydia's room. Her letters were inspected. Agnes remained under watch. At 8:19, nothing happened. At 8:20, the walls began to vibrate. Every palace clock advanced 4 minutes. Rowan stared at his watch. Gideon had received 8:20. Before Rowan could summon the guards, a deep grinding sound rose from behind the western wall. Lydia followed it to the old bell tower. A concealed panel stood open. Beyond it, a narrow staircase descended into darkness. On the lower steps lay a discarded Crossworks glove and a revised copy of the treaty schedule. The signing time had been moved forward by 11 minutes. At the bottom of the page, someone had written, "When the Eastern delegation is recorded late, replace the agreement. Use the 13th strike as confirmation." Above them, the palace clocks began moving again. The treaty ceremony was less than an hour away, and somewhere beneath Wrenford Palace, Gideon's operators were already preparing to change time. The treaty ceremony was less than an hour away. Lydia stood at the entrance to the hidden staircase, while the steel rods inside the walls began to tremble. Rowan read the altered schedule again. The Eastern delegation will be recorded 11 minutes late. And while everyone argues over whether they missed the appointed hour, the agreement will be replaced. He looked towards the darkness below. We arrest Gideon now. No, he is operating a mechanism beneath my palace. If you seize him before the system is activated, Marcus will destroy the investment records. The operators will claim they followed maintenance orders, and the false treaty may never reach the signing table. You expect me to permit this ceremony to continue? I expect you to decide whether preventing embarrassment matters more than exposing the entire crime. Rowan flinched at the accuracy of it. Lydia continued. The 13th strike is their confirmation signal. Let them believe the plan is working. When the clocks answer, we open the walls. If the delegations discover that I allowed them to enter a compromised chamber, they will discover that you failed to inspect it when warned. That truth already exists. Rowan looked at the revised schedule in his hand. Then he nodded. What do you require? Independent mechanics at every wall panel. Guards inside the old bell tower. The real treaty secured by 2 witnesses. Marcus must remain inside the signing chamber until the control room is opened. And Gideon? Let him stand beside the clock he believes he controls. For the first time since the accusations began, Rowan followed her plan without attempting to improve it through rank. The royal treaty hall filled before noon. Foreign envoys stood beneath banners of 3 nations. Bankers, ministers, and reporters occupied the galleries. The central table held 3 copies of the commercial agreement, each tied with blue ribbon. Sir Gideon stood beside the official clock. Lord Marcus Fenwick remained near the Eastern delegation, speaking quietly with 2 shipping investors. Lydia entered in a deep red gown. The room reacted immediately. Some guests recognized the woman accused of sabotaging the royal time system. Others looked towards Rowan, expecting him to remove her. Gideon smiled. Her Grace is forbidden from approaching the clocks. Rowan stepped onto the platform. That order is withdrawn. A murmur spread through the chamber. Gideon's expression remained composed. On what grounds? On the grounds that the accusation against the Duchess was investigated by the man whose machinery she questioned. Lydia did not thank him. She crossed to the official clock and placed one hand upon its case. The mechanism vibrated faintly. The hidden line was already under tension. Marcus checked his pocket watch. "The Eastern envoys are not yet inside," he said. A clerk looked towards the official clock. "According to the palace time, they have 3 minutes." Outside the chamber, another clock showed 14. The discrepancy had begun. The Eastern delegation entered through the main doors. Gideon turned to the clerk. "They are late." Their ambassador removed his own chronometer. "We are early." Marcus raised his voice. "The ceremony cannot wait upon a delegation unable to observe the appointed hour." Lydia looked towards Rowan. The trap was closing. The official clock advanced another 4 minutes. Then it began to strike. 1, 2. The hall fell quiet. By the 12th bell, Gideon's hand had moved towards the inner pocket of his coat. The 13th bell rang. At once, hidden clocks throughout the palace answered. 13 from the corridor, 13 from the western gallery, 13 from the auction chamber below. Lydia raised her hand. Now. Independent mechanics pulled away the decorative panels covering the walls. Steel rods appeared behind the plaster. Wheels turned within hidden channels. Cables ran upwards towards the old bell tower. Gasps filled the hall. The clock beside Gideon had no working pendulum. Its movement was connected directly to a rod disappearing through the stone. Guards opened the concealed door behind the tapestry. Inside stood 2 Crossworks employees holding the master levers. One tried to release the brake. The guards seized him. Another man attempted to burn a stack of papers in a brazier. A mechanic overturned it before the flame could catch. Lydia entered the control room with Rowan behind her. The hidden chamber contained time adjustment logs for royal buildings, lists of contracts altered by early deadlines, payments from companies linked to Marcus, the genuine treaty, a replacement agreement containing new tariffs, instructions to record the Eastern delegation as absent, a schedule marking the 13th strike as confirmation. Marcus moved towards the exit. The Eastern ambassador blocked him. "Remain where you are." Gideon stepped into the control room. "This is an emergency regulation chamber. The council authorized it." Rowan looked at the concealed machinery. "I authorized independent clocks. The system required central correction. Then why was the correction room omitted from every official plan?" Gideon turned towards Lydia. "Because Her Grace would have misunderstood the mechanism." Lydia lifted the 13th tooth wheel Agnes had provided. "No, I understood it precisely." Agnes entered beside Silas. She showed the tiny A scratched beneath the lower plate. "I manufactured these wheels under Sir Gideon's instructions. He ordered my mark removed before installation." Silas produced the unaltered maintenance register. Every night Sir Gideon entered the tower, the auction clocks changed before morning. Marcus interrupted. "Maintenance records prove nothing about investment decisions." Lydia placed 3 sealed envelopes upon the signing table. "1 false correction time was given to you, 1 to Lady Imogen, 1 to Sir Gideon." She opened Gideon's copy. 8:20. The system activated at 8:20. Gideon pointed towards her. She could have operated it herself. "She was under guard," Rowan said. "Her workers were not." Agnes stepped forwards. "I was locked in a council room," Silas added. "And I remained beside the Duke." Lydia opened the revised treaty. This document adds emergency transport privileges to companies owned through Lord Marcus's investment partners. The Eastern ambassador examined it. It also doubles our port duties. Marcus's composure broke. This is an unofficial draft. Then why was the genuine agreement locked inside the control room? Lydia asked. No answer came. A guard placed the control ledger before Rowan. Payments from Marcus appeared beside every manipulated auction. The dates matched the contracts won by his companies. Gideon attempted to seize the book. Rowan caught his wrist. The room became still. For months, Rowan had treated Gideon as the embodiment of expertise, and Lydia as the inconvenience questioning it. Now the celebrated clockmaker stood exposed beside the machinery he had denied existed. "Arrest them," Rowan said. Gideon stared at him. "You would destroy the royal time system because your wife has made you afraid of appearing foolish." Rowan released him to the guards. "No. I allowed fear of appearing foolish to protect you." Marcus and Gideon were taken from the chamber. The ceremony did not proceed immediately. Rowan returned to the treaty platform and faced the assembled delegations. No one applauded. No one offered him the protection of polite silence. The Duchess identified the danger before the first contract was lost, he said. His voice carried to the galleries. "I dismissed her because admitting uncertainty seemed more humiliating than silencing my wife." Lydia remained beside the exposed wall. Rowan continued. "I allowed Sir Gideon to investigate evidence found inside her workshop, though his own system was under suspicion. I removed her name from the Royal Time Register before allowing an independent examination." He placed the chairman's chain of the Time Council on the table. "I resign from the council." Several officials protested at once. Rowan raised one hand. A man who permits official time to be manipulated because he fears questioning his own judgment cannot continue to govern it. He ordered the entire palace system sealed for independent inspection. The treaty was signed hours later, using 3 separate marine chronometers supplied by different makers. For the first time, the official time did not depend upon a single clock or a single man. The inquiry lasted 5 months. Gideon and Marcus had manipulated 6 major auctions, 3 shipping contracts, and 2 government announcements. Their associates bought transport shares before every manufactured delay. The forged evidence inside Lydia's workshop had been prepared by cross-technicians, using access authorized by Imogen. Imogen publicly admitted her role and lost responsibility for palace maintenance and ceremonial access. Agnes was recognized as the maker of the hidden wheels and a principal technical witness. Silas's original records were restored. Lydia designed a new royal time standard requiring 2 independent mechanisms in every auction and signing chamber. No contractor could inspect his own system. Every adjustment had to be recorded publicly, with the name of the mechanic responsible. She did not accept Rowan's former chairmanship. She accepted no title from him at all. The standard carried her name because she had written it, not because a duke had permitted it. Lydia remained in the eastern rooms. Rowan did not ask when she would return. He sent no jewelry and made no speeches about forgiveness. Instead, he began bringing her reports before signing them. Not conclusions, questions. Months later, he entered her workshop, carrying the old pocket watch she had repaired before their marriage. He placed it on the table between them. "I once believed a title allowed me to decide which mechanism could be trusted." Lydia opened the case. "And now?" "Now, I know trust requires examination." He placed an unsigned report beside it. "I have not approved this." "Why bring it to me?" "Because I wish to know what I have failed to question. Lydia pointed towards the chair opposite her. Sit down. He obeyed. You will dismantle the first mechanism yourself. Rowan removed his gloves. His fingers were clumsy with the fine screws. Lydia did not take the tool from him. She corrected his grip once, then allowed him to continue. Their marriage was not repaired by one exposed control room or one public confession. But for the first time, Rowan did not ask Lydia to trust the judgment of the Duke. He began learning how to examine it,